On today's Locked On Senators, we'll look back at Saturday's entertaining shootout win over the Montreal Canadiens.
And the Ottawa Senators have 2 games left in the season tonight up against the Rangers in New York.
And a Sens legend reaches 1,000 NHL games. We'll discuss all that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 1024 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan in the heart of our nation's capital in Ottawa, Ontario, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where we say hello and let you know that a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today is Monday, April 15th, and Pilsy, if you told me that the President's Trophy would be on the line for the Ottawa Senators in Game 81, I would ask you who our first round opponent would be, but instead, we're going to just try to play spoiler tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ross, I hate to rain on your parade, but it is not the Ottawa Senators who are in line to win the President's Trophy. I know, shocker.
I must have read the clipping wrong.
Yeah, you're close. You're close there. But yeah, the Rangers, this is going to be a big night for them. It's their final home game, fan appreciation night. And I think, like we talked about earlier, Ross, like, are the Rangers and Bruins going to bench players coming into these final 2 games? I'm not so sure about the Bruins, but I feel pretty confident in saying that we'll probably see the Rangers full lineup tonight.
We certainly will. They've already clinched top spot in... No, they haven't. They're going to need 1 point tonight to clinch top spot in the conference as well. So not only for the top team in the league, but that's pretty impressive.
But if they get a win in any fashion, Ross, then they clinch the President's Trophy. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, huge game for the Rangers. And it's back to tank, right? We had our fun on Saturday at home, and
yes,
we can put a bow on that one if you want. The postcast was fun. We did a special Sunday morning edition, but yeah, it still feels awesome even 24 more hours later.
Yeah, look, for everyone saying, you guys, you have to lose this game, especially up against the Habs, because they're the team that's right there with you in the lottery odds. This is a must-lose game, blah, blah, blah. We get it. But Ross flew from Winnipeg. I made the drive from the Blue Mountains. We brought our better halves. We had seats in Club Bell. We wanted to win this game because we wanted the vibes. Forgive us for having a moment of weakness in the tank and wanting to win that game. I didn't regret that mindset going into it, Ross. I don't regret it with the win they got. I still don't regret it now. We will be back to a regularly scheduled tanking as of tonight and tomorrow. So all you tankers, don't worry. We're back on Team Tank. We just wanted just one night where we could enjoy a win. So forgive us.
Well, 14-1-1, we've seen a lot of winning, but for the tank narrative, you guys, you got somewhat of a wish. We could meet in the middle on this one. Montreal gets a point in a losing effort, so they're not even that much further back. Montreal, by the way, talk about 2 avenues full of nightmare. Either Detroit gets to beat Montreal the next 2 straight games and probably get into the playoffs, or the Habs are going to eat up those wins, which, Tank Squad, I can hear you yelling at me again. That might be a good thing in the long run, but I hated the Habs watching them on Saturday just as I would if that game had meant absolutely anything in the standings. But
yeah, that's
fun win.
When there's so many Habs fans there, like it's so easy to be at home and being like, who cares about this? This is meaningless. Ross, I don't even feel like this is that crazy to say. the atmosphere at the CTC was one of the most energetic I've felt in.
Well, the home opener is always number one.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I mean, like, just for a meaningless game,
Right.
that place was rocking. That place was rocking. Each goal had massive energy and momentum shifts. Like, it was a fun place to be for two teams that are well out of it, and maybe half of their respective fan bases wanted them to lose the game. So it was a good time overall.
And Brady Tkachuk ties the franchise record for most shots on goal in a game with 12. 12 shots. He needs 3 goals in the next 2 games to hit 40 and a perfect natural progression. His career high was 30 2 years ago. Last year, 35. Well, he's at 37 after a 2-goal performance on Saturday against the Montreal Canadiens. Jake Sanderson, quietly 3-assist game for him. And the Ottawa Senators tied up in the final minute of the game with Thomas Chabot. Yes.
Before we wrap up, though, I have a really important question to ask you.
Okay.
How does it feel, the Ottawa Senators getting 9 straight wins over the Montreal Canadiens? I was just interested in your opinion on that.
It's awesome.
I would agree. It is awesome.
It's awesome.
It's
yeah.
Awesome.
Everyone can agree on that. My final question for you is, are you still wearing your bracelet?
No, I knew you were going to ask, but I actually did take it off. It was rubbing me the wrong way. So I was like, you know what? I did the bit last time we were like, it's one of those, Ross, act like you've been there before. So I had to take it off sooner than I did the previous time.
Well, we have been there before in the sense of seeing the Habs lose to the Ottawa Senators. And if you've seen the Senators and Habs play anytime since 2022, so have you. On the other side, we'll talk about the Ottawa Senators game tonight against the New York Rangers. The Senators just calling up one of their top prospects for tonight's game. We'll let you know who's coming up, what that means, and more on the other side. You're listening to Locked On Senators. It's your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They got superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. It's that simple. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need, but at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Check it out today, guys. eBay Motors.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Shawarma Palace, Ottawa's premier location when you are hungry for anything. Because at Shawarma Palace, you can get the freshest, most flavorful food, and they also want to make sure that you do not leave hungry. Usually you'll leave with leftovers if you get the platter. So delicious. Chicken, beef, falafel, you name it, they got it at Shawarma Palace. We also got the quick grab and go lunches on Saturday. In a hurry, no problem. Shawarma Palace has you covered with the crispiest, most delicious sandwich. The chicken inside so perfectly moist. You get all the garlic sauce, everything involved, and it's always delicious at Shawarma Palace. So go to one of their locations today, all across Ottawa. You know you can find them as well on social media. Shawarma Palace, Ottawa. You can also get them on Uber Eats. So go check them out on Uber Eats and have it delivered right to your door. Go eat like a royal today. Go eat at Shawarma Palace. You will not regret it. We went to the Orleans location. Humongous spot.
That place truly is a palace.
So go check it out today. Shawarma Palace. Eat like a royal. Go eat at Shawarma Palace. All right, Pillsy. We've made it to the final 2 games of the regular season. Pour one out. The home schedule is already over. but at least they go out the way they came in with wins on each end. Kind of feeling like the Red Blacks inaugural season, though, where they went 2 and whatever. And the 2 games they won was the first and last game of the year, but both at home. So if you're going to stink on the road. And we've already said, Pilsy, that the tank is back on with the Rangers and Bruins both playing not only to get ready for the playoffs, but meaningful games. The Rangers could be the best team in the National Hockey League. Confirmed, locked up if they get a win tonight against Ottawa. What is your key to spoiling that?
I'm going to say you can't let the Rangers get off to a hot start here. If the Rangers get off to a hot start, I think that crowd at Madison Square Garden is going to be going nuts. And the Ottawa Senators simply do not have the depth to play catch up if they're trying to win this game. If you get behind by 1 goal, especially 2 goals, I don't see a scenario where this team's able to claw their way back into the game, because the New York Rangers are top 10 in power play, penalty. No, scratch that, Ross. They're top 3 in power play and penalty kill. I believe the only other team to do that is the Carolina Hurricanes. So the New York Rangers are just they're one of the best teams in the NHL. There's no way around it. From forward depth, D depth to goalie depth, they've got it all.
And when Jonathan Quick stepped up earlier this year, the only thing you could kind of question for them is their goaltending, because Igor Shesterkin was not playing at the level that people have become accustomed to at any league he plays at. Just go look. The win-loss splits are unreal. He was having the worst portion of his NHL career. So Quick steps up, the veteran that he is. And now Shesterkin's starting to play back to the level that people are used to from him. So between that and Alexis Lafreniere's emergence as a premier playmaker in the league, and a guy who's even contributing, putting pucks in the back of the net, I mean, you just kind of have to tip your cap to the depth of the New York Rangers. And I think that you look at they actually have the longest tenured line this season in terms of minutes played, Pilsy. It's the line of Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere. And they've just built so much chemistry and time over the course of the year. So I'll be watching for that tonight from them, just kind of how smooth they're making reads off each other. And if you look at Ottawa, it's just such a contrast for guys spending time together. And you think over the course of the year, that's something that can catch up to you. Get this, Pilsy. The Senators' top line at 5-on-5 playing together this year, Stützle, Giroux, Joseph, 305 minutes. That Rangers line I told you about, 1,150.
Yeah. Wow.
More than triple.
I mean, the New York Rangers have been blessed with good health this year, I think. Like, other than Blake Wheeler, obviously he had the big injury that's kept him out most of the season. And then I think Philip Hedl is injured right now as well. But other than that, I could be wrong, Rangers fans. Sorry if I'm off on this one, but I can't think of any major injuries this team has had throughout the year.
No, it doesn't look like it, because, there is one. Philip Hedl left, but he's actually back.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, he's back skating now. So I was looking up, trying to find their injured list right now. So other than that, their top guys, at least Panarin, he would be a Hart candidate in any other year, but he just so happens to be in a year where Kucherov
I think he's still a Hart candidate.
No, I think he's number 4. You put him ahead of McDavid?
I don't know about ahead, but I think it's fair to have him in the mix.
But you only have 3 nominees. I think it's set in stone. It's McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov.
I thought they did 5. I thought you could choose 5, or that's for other.
I don't know. Oh, I think that's what the weighting system is. But then once they announce it, it's just 3.
Then there's a final 3. Right.
Yes. So we won't know who finishes 4-5 until the summer. It's like quiet day, and then boom, you find out that your favorite beat writer actually thinks that Luke Glendening should win the Selke.
Yeah.
Like that's what the best day is in summer.
I'm so glad they make that public now. It was ridiculous that it wasn't public before, because some of the votes are outrageous.
Like Luke Shen for the Norris. It's like, hey, we get it. He can hit guys, but like you're not putting him as top 5 for the Norris just to prove a point.
Yeah, the galaxy-brained reporters are awesome.
Amazing. The Senators making a move before tonight's game. But before we get to it, let's talk about the lines for the New York Rangers. We already mentioned the line of Trocheck, Panarin, and Lafreniere has been together for so many minutes at 5-on-5, and for good reason, too, when you look at the way that they've accomplished so far this season. And that's not even technically their top line, because Mika Zibanejad, remember him? He's on the top line with Chris Kreider and Jack Roslovic. Third line, Alex Wenberg with Will Cooley and Capo Capco. And the fourth line, Barclay Goodrow with Jimmy Vesey and Matt Rempe. On defense, it's Ryan Lindgren. It's Adam Fox. Then they have Keandre Miller with Braden Schneider and Erik Gustafsson with Jacob Trouba. We expect Shesterkin to start in goal. Obviously, huge game for the Rangers tonight. Could clinch the President's Trophy, and Jonathan Quick will back him up. So that line is my lookout line, Bills. I'm stealing all three because I want to get a stat in here for you. That line at 5-on-5 has scored 52 goals together and only 39 against. So per 60 minutes, they're averaging over 3.5 goals a game and letting in under 2.75. So that's one of the best lines in hockey, and I'll be keeping an eye on them tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good mix of players on that line. And Panarin is kind of leading the charge there. And Trocheck is having a career year. And then, like you mentioned, Alexis Lafreniere is kind of picking things up now after a little while where people were like, is he gonna burst through here? Or is he gonna kind of plateau as a third line winger? No, he's found his way now.
Now, he has only one game with points in his last 5. So maybe he's a guy that you watch, and if you're the coaching staff, Peter Laviolette, ever since he had a 5-point night, including a hat trick in Pittsburgh, he has had no points in 5 of the 7 games, multi-points in the other 2, 1 goal, 1 assist in each. So, I'd be worried if I'm a Sens fan that he could pop off tonight, and then we'll get all the Rangers fans tweeting that he's actually the top pick from the 2020 draft here now years later. Speaking of Tim Stützle, no update really on him other than the fact that he has an upper body injury and is not ready to play. We saw him skating in Tampa, but then didn't skate in the morning skate over Montreal.
Shut him down. It's over.
Yeah, but this doesn't directly mean why Ottawa made this call up this morning. Zach Ostapchuk has been recalled by the Ottawa Senators because Mark Kastelik left after only 2 minutes in the game against Montreal. So we won't know until closer to game time, but I'm with you on Tim Stützle, Pilsy. Like, what's the point in having him in these 2 games?
Yeah. Don't need it. Ross, my lookout player, I'm not going to do a whole line. Luckily, you didn't take my guy, even though you took 3 of them. Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider's 1 goal away from 40. He's having another good year. I know people, when he had the 50 goals, everyone's like, okay, this isn't the real Chris Kreider, but he's had still really good seasons. I believe he was in the 30s a year before this, and now 39 goals here. He's trying to get to 40. Only Mike Gardner, Marian Gaborik, Jean Rattel have multiple 40-goal seasons with the Rangers, so Kreider's trying to get on that list, and he's been pretty hot lately. In the last 9 games, he has 8 points, including 6 goals, so he's going to be wanting to keep that going. And Chris Kreider is one of those guys. He's so big, so strong, so fast. You always got to watch for him coming down the wing, and I really think that anytime he's up against the Ottawa Senators, you got to watch out for him. I'm just looking for his career stats against the Sens. Okay, not as bad as I thought. In 29 games, 11 goals, 11 assists for 22 points. But he's one of those guys, Ross, that just gives defensemen nightmares when he gets the puck in the neutral zone, and he's going to try to go wide and then use his size to lean into the defenseman and crash towards the net. And half the time he crashes into the goalie as well. So you got to watch out for that. So I'm going to be looking out for Chris Kreider.
Okay. Ottawa Senators have won 3 of their last 5 games against the New York Rangers, and some memorable ones as well. Obviously, Tkachuk versus Trouba at center ice, and then Tkachuk ties the game, then wins the game. And at home ice earlier this year, they had a huge win against the Rangers. So they play them well, and we'll have to tonight at Madison Square Garden if they want to play spoiler. I don't, but I'd love to see an entertaining game tonight. We'll have the postcast for you after it. Pilsy, your locked on player for the Ottawa Senators. As I mentioned, no bother with lineups tonight, especially with the recall of Zach Ostapchuk. Who knows who's playing with who?
Should we hit the locked on player after the break?
All right. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Sleeper. Look, the Ottawa Senators season pretty much over. 2 games left, but regardless of where they are in the standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially when it comes with hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. That means you can play daily fantasy football, basketball, baseball, college football, and you can win big. I love the group chat. You can let all your buddies know you're going to have a big week, and you're coming home from work, you're coming home from the grocery store, puck's about to drop in a couple minutes, no big deal. Entries can be made in under a minute. All you got to do is pick players like Brady, Timmy, Claude Giroux, Jake Sanderson, all these guys to record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and you could win big. So use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Check it out today, guys. Sleeper.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. We were at the Glebe Central Pub on Saturday night. What a great time at 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe, steps from Lansdowne. If you're going shopping on the weekend, go check that out. It's always a good time at the Glebe Central Pub. On Mondays, they've got 75-cent wings. We crushed a dozen of ours each. Great wings at Glebe Central Pub. So head there tonight, watch the game, and get your wings 75 cents per. They've got trivia nights. They've got open mic nights. Saturday, live music every Saturday. And don't forget the beer of the day. So it's always something going down at the Glebe Central Pub. We love our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. At the Glebe Central Pub, you can play darts, you can watch games, you can hang out with friends. You're always having a good time at 779 Bank Street. Pilsy, we talk about the food. The drinks are great. Atmosphere. What else you want from your neighborhood watering hole?
I mean, if they had a way, Ross, that they could get Sens fans to and from Sens games, that would be great. The Sens shuttle had its grand finale on the weekend. And
second season, so 3 next.
We're
It's
coming
awesome.
back for the trilogy. Yep.
It's going to be great to see the Glebe Central Pub full all summer. They got the garage door open. Get that fresh air flowing in there and check out the vibes at the Glebe Central Pub. Find them at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, Pillsy, game day for the Ottawa Senators, and note the start time, 7:30 start tonight at Madison Square Garden. Senators in New York, President's Trophy on the line. We talked about Zach Ostapchuk getting called up, and I just saw on Twitter, Pillsy, Zach Ostapchuk has already taken care of Matt Rempe in his junior career in the WHL.
Yeah, that and like when you see the size difference when Ostapchuk squares up with Rempe, you're like, oh boy, this is not going to go well for Zach. But he handles him pretty well there.
Rematch at MSG, center ice.
I would love that. I don't know if we're going to get that, but that would be great. I feel like Boko Imama is going to want to go out with a splash here. So maybe him and Rempe will have some discussions in warmies at center ice, and they'll get something planned.
So you could also see Zach McEwen getting in there. The Ottawa Senators are putting out a heavy lineup to finish off the season.
Yeah, even without Mark Kastelic, they're going to have a heavy lineup for sure.
Yeah, so that's what you're thinking. You think that it's Casty out, and then the potential that maybe Timmy could play still.
No, I don't think Timmy's going to play.
I guess those aren't mutually exclusive though, because Timmy didn't play on Saturday either.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Ostapchuk just takes Casty's spot.
And Matt Highmore was reassigned to Belleville. Huge game Wednesday against Syracuse for Belleville. So we'll be following that later on in the week. Your locked on player for the Sens, Bills.
My locked on player for the Ottawa Senators is going to be Jake Sanderson. We mentioned he quietly had 3 assists in Montreal. Now, he did have that tough giveaway that led to the opening goal, and Mike Matheson breakaway goal shorthanded. But you're going to make mistakes sometimes. How do you recover from them? Having 3 assists, including getting an assist on the game-tying goal, pretty big deal. So Jake Sanderson, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of him here on the ice tonight, Ross, as he's consistently one of the leaders in time on ice. And He's at 38 points here. Let's get him to a nice even 40. Chychrun's at 40 points right now. So if he could end up squared up with Chychrun in points, that'd be great.
Brady Tkachuk is playing some of the best hockey I've seen in the NHL, so I'm going to take him as my locked-on player. As much as Jake Sanderson's been impressive and Drake Batherson's been impressive in this last stretch as well, nobody's elevated their game more, and maybe it's not the best time to, but it's been fun to watch because not only did he set the NHL record for hits in a game a couple weekends ago in New Jersey against New Jersey at home, and then we saw his heroics against the Habs on Saturday with 12 shots on goal. Pillsy, if you go back to his hat trick in New York against the Islanders on March 16th, so right after the trade deadline and their kind of disappointing road trip that ended with a loss in San Jose, ever since then, Brady Tkachuk has 21 points in his last 16 games, among the league leaders. So I want to see him continue his stretch of playing strong hockey. And not only that, we know he loves playing the Rangers. I alluded to that in particular situation earlier on in the show, but even in his entire career, he's always kind of had a soft spot. I can't do the splits right from MSG, but I feel like every time he's playing the Rangers, he's at the top of his game.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're in the spotlight, absolutely. And Brady Tkachuk has been so good recently. One of the few things Sens fans can be proud of in this season is the way Brady carries himself. And yeah, just Ross, we were there hanging out after the game, waiting to get a late Uber, and Brady was there, half an hour later than everyone else, shaking hands, letting everyone know how much he appreciates the support. And his post-game interview was exactly what you would want to hear from a young captain, really emphasizing how important it is that fans have stuck through this up and down season. How Claire Hanna asked him, "Hey, you got a career high in goals. How do you feel?" And he's like, doesn't really matter. We fell short of a lot of team goals that we wanted to hit, and we're going to come back and hopefully learn a lot of lessons from this season and improve next year. So can't say enough about how proud we are to have Brady Tkachuk as the captain.
Free business idea for the Ottawa Senators. Auction off a recording of Brady's exit interview with Michael Anlauer, Steve Stais, and Jacques Martin. I'm so curious to hear or to know what Brady truly thinks of the season and all that, because what he showed was leadership to me and how to be a captain with how he addressed the media the last couple of days. But he's got to be frustrated. Like, he's doing everything he can recently. It's all for naught as the season will wind down in 2 games. But what a finish to the season for Brady Tkachuk, my locked-on player to watch in tonight's game. I remind you, after the game, you can find the postcast right on YouTube, and then afterwards, wherever you get your podcast. Pillsy, Erik Karlsson plays 1,000 NHL game. This one made me feel very old.
Yeah, it was definitely, you mentioned it to me, and I was like, wait, already? He's played 1,000 games, but I mean, this guy's been around for a while, and it's certainly disappointing that he's doing it in a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. It's
a shame.
It makes me sick. But Ross, they might as well have just got a sticker logo of the Sens and slapped it on his jersey, because the whole celebration was him, Karlsson, talking about Brian Murray, talking about Daniel Alfredsson, and Jason Spezza was the main guest appearance. So basically it was yeah, sure, he's wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey, but he's an Ottawa Senator from the start. That's just that was the vibe it was giving off, at least from the videos and the articles I've read, is just everything was talking about him as a Senator. Did he even mention the San Jose Sharks once? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I didn't watch the entirety of it, but I just know that his memories as an Ottawa Senator are the things of legends, what he did in the playoffs in 2017, and just the body of work in a whole. 627 of those 1,000 games coming with the Ottawa Senators, 518 points with the Ottawa Senators, and just always a highlight machine. So congratulations to Erik Karlsson. It's a real shame he had to do it as a Penguin.
And Ross, I didn't realize this, but in the Penguins article on their website, it says Karlsson is grateful for the role of Daniel Alfredsson, the best man at his wedding. I didn't know Alfie was Carl's best man. Wow.
Yeah, there you have it. Huh. He's the man. So why not? If you're Erik Karlsson, have him up there with you in the most important day of your life.
Yeah, so that's very interesting.
Another note, Daniel Alfredsson, will he be back on the bench? Not sure. Jacques Martin confirming what we all already knew, that he's done. Speculation has arisen, and there might be a new name in the mix. I just want to throw it out there.
Whoa.
Not saying that it's a connection to the Ottawa Senators, but obviously a big name. And that is the head coach of the University of Denver, David Carl.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on that. He was the world junior coach for Team USA. So he's got 2 national championships, and he's got a world junior gold medal. And guess what? He's 34 years old.
34?
Yes.
Wow. Would that make him the youngest head coach in history, or was that Paul Maurice with the Hartford Whalers?
I don't know. It would put him right up there. I'll tell you that much.
I know I'm pretty sure Maurice was in his 30s when he started coaching the Whalers.
So he retired from hockey before the NHL draft. He was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Not sure what that is, but even though he's only 34 years old, he's been a coach at the University of Denver. First a graduate assistant coach, then an assistant coach, then now a head coach since 2018. He's been working with the University of Denver since 2008.
Wow.
So even though he's 34, his resume is enormous. So
that's
just
incredible.
Just a name to throw out there. David Carl. Remember Matt Carl?
Oh, yeah.
Played a long time. This is his younger brother, not older. Matt Carl's already played a whole NHL career and retired. His younger brother. So David Carl, let's keep an eye on that. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is it was a mixed bag for the Belleville Senators this weekend. They get the win in the first game, and then they get absolutely annihilated in the second game. Ross, the Rochester Americans had a 7-0 lead at one point. This game ends up being 8-2, but they were up 7-0, 7 unanswered goals. Yuri Kulich had a hat trick and an assist. He was just lighting it up, and not a great day for Mando and Marilyn in there. So if Belleville is serious about having hopes in this playoff race, they got to clean that up. You can't be losing 8-2 here, as their next game will be up against the Syracuse Crunch Wednesday, April 17th at CAA Arena. So for all our Bay of Quinte listeners, get to the CAA Arena, support the boys. These are big, meaningful games coming up here before their weekend up against the Laval Rocket.
They need to make the playoffs so badly. So we'll be following that Wednesday closely and beyond into the weekend. Your boy, Stephen Halliday, the disher, has an assist in 4 straight games, Pillsy.
Nice. Love it.
Just dishing it left and right. Wonder if Zach Ostapchuk, I think he'd likely be back in the lineup on Wednesday for Belleville. So it might be a little 3-3 situation where he plays NHL, AHL.
I don't think they're allowed to do that.
I don't know. I'd if he's up for it.
He'll be back for the weekend for sure. Probably not the Wednesday game, though.
All right. Well, they at least have Highmore to take his spot now that he's healthy and back in the mix. So huge games for the Belleville Senators down the stretch. Final thoughts from me. And as every other team, 16 of them, are getting ready for the playoffs and Ottawa sits on the sidelines again, I want to remind everybody that 7 years ago today was the Dion Phaneuf overtime winner. One of the best moments of the run. The first win of the run. Dion Phaneuf's little hop skip after a slap shot down. And it would just like me to remind everyone that with that series win over Boston, Dion Phaneuf won more playoff series in his 2 years in Ottawa than he did as 7 with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Nice.
So there you have it. There's my final thoughts.
That's great. Love it.
All right. As Pillsy did last week, today I will be doing 2 Sens shows from 2 time zones. I got to hop a bird right now. Pillsy, I'll see you in the postcast tonight. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.